Alright people, Mike Salden here again. Welcome back to another video. Today, finally starting Baldur's Gate 3. It's one of the main games I bought myself for Christmas. I decided to go in on the balanced difficulty because I didn't want to go in on anything harder than that because it might might turn me off the game because I'm pretty unfamiliar with Baldur's Gate and D&D in general. I play a lot of RPGs and fantasy games, but not a lot of D&D stuff with dice rolls. I have played Disco Elysium, which has dice rolls, but it's a pretty stripped back kind of dice roll game. It's not as hard to get into as a more traditional D&D based game. Though people tell me this game is pretty easy to get into, and it is for newcomers, the way they've set up a lot of the systems. So after the initial cutscene, I'll just skip through that for the purpose of this video, and get straight into the character customization. There is a lot of choice here, a lot of different things you can pick: your race, your background, your class, your abilities, skills. You could be in here for 2 hours or so if you wanted to be. You can also pick one of the party members to play as. I was really tempted to play as Karlach for a second. I haven't played the game before, but I have seen a lot of fan art of Karlach on my timeline, and I think she's really cool. And I was tempted to pick her and just start playing as her, but I kind of did want to make my own character. Based on how cool Karlach looks, I decided I was gonna be a Tefling. But there is lots of different options here. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. Tefling, Tiefling. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I decided I was gonna be one of these devil demon ladies with big horns. I thought they looked pretty cool, and I chose a bard as my class because it's quite unique to play as a bard. Um, at least for me, because in other games I'm always like a fighter or some kind of mage or sorcerer. And I thought magic might be a really useful thing in this game. But I always played Dragon Age Origins as a mage or a magic user, and I kind of wanted to do something different. Um, I always play as a mage in Dragon's Dogma as well. They're really powerful. And I just thought this might be a unique opportunity to play as a bard who just sort of talks their way out of trouble, and maybe play some music to distract enemies. And you can also insult an enemy so hard that they just die, which sounded funny. So I decided, yeah, let's be a bard Tefling. That seems like a unique combination. Um, I spent a long time trying to get the hair color right. Um, I eventually decided I was going to go for a Harley Quinn kind of black and red hairstyle, just because it seemed to fit my character. Uh, there was quite a lot of hairstyles, which I'm very pleased about. One of the things I always look for in character creators is at least 50 hairstyles, and I think this game meets the quota. I'm not quite sure the exact number, but it felt like there was a lot here, and they all look pretty cool. And there wasn't any hairstyles where I was like, oh, that's completely terrible, I would never use that. There was hairstyles I was like, for another different character this would work, but it's not really working for my Tefling. So eventually I got over to this hairstyle. I don't think this is the one that ended up using, but it was pretty good to demonstrate the Harley Quinn effect I was going for with the hair. But again, I started flipping through some more. Quite like this one. I think that's the one I went back to. Or no, actually, I think I quite like this one. The bit of the scruffier, kind of longer hair. I quite like this one. And I think this is the one I ended up going with. And there's a whole lot of stuff you can add to your character: face tattoos, scars, just piercings, all the usual stuff you'd be looking for. Some people are disappointed that you can't tweak the size of your nose and mouth and your eyes and stuff, and that there isn't sliders for that. But because there's so many other options for everything else, I don't really mind it too much. And I quite they've all the pre-made faces. They all look pretty good, and I don't really have a problem that there's 20 randomized faces that you can choose from or whatever. But yeah, this is what my character ended up looking like. You can enter your own name or just let them be called Tav. But I decided to call her Rani after Rani the Witch in Elden Ring. She looks nothing like Rani, but Rani's a pretty cool name, so I just went with that. And yeah, this is my Bard Tiefling. When we get into some combat, I'm probably not going to be very effective as a Bard. But then the game is supposed to be very open with what you can do, and maybe the Bard, if I level them up correctly, will still be pretty powerful. So we'll see how it goes. It could be a disaster, but yeah, this is my character, and I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. I love their hair and the horns and the piercings I gave them. The outfit, it's not exactly what I would went with, but they are a bard, so yeah. And then this was surprising. I didn't realize you had to make a second character for this guardian. I'm not even sure what the guardian does or how they come into things, but eventually ended up with this sort of elf guardian that I customized. I didn't spend as much time on the guardian because I'd already spent like an hour on my like main actual character. In this video I've sped it up quite a lot, put the footage on 2 times speed, and cut out a lot of random back and forth stuff I was doing. Um, when I posted my Guardian to Twitter, people told me that they actually liked the Guardian more than my main character, and I don't know why. But yeah, I think they both look pretty cool. I think. I was tempted to go for like a halfling or a dwarf or like a really short character to be my guardian because I thought that would be funny. But in the end, I just went for this ginger elf lady. And I don't know how that's going to play into anything later, but I guess we'll see. So yeah, my character wakes up here on this like crashing alien ship. It's a very unique intro for a like fantasy game. I thought like a traditional D&D kind of thing. I didn't know aliens or like creatures from outer space. At least I think this mind flayer people, these guys are from outer space. Um, so it seemed like a pretty unique intro. And I spent quite a while just wandering around this ship, investigating these pods, hearing the dialogue, and just marveling at like how cool the camera was in this game. That I could zoom all the way in like this, or I could pull it back out to be like isometric and more top down kinda. And it's really cool that they let the camera be so freely used like that. And I did loot all these dead mind flayers for some items that I have no idea what they do or if they're going to be useful. And then I walked up to this thing called the nursery, and this is where I have my first little dice roll. I think it's a dice roll to investigate the pool, and because I was aware that touching things in this game can go badly for you if you don't know what you're doing. So I thought it would be wise to investigate it first. And the narrator tells us, yeah, this thing looks very fragile. It's probably best not to touch it. So I walked away after investigating it. I'm pretty sure it'll poison me or something if I touched it, so I just left it there. And I was getting used to just moving around. And I gotta say, already very early on, it started to remind me of Dragon Age Origins, which shouldn't be that surprising because BioWare, they made the original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and then went on to make Dragon Age Origins, which always people always said felt like a spiritual successor to Dragon Age Origins. I do plan to go back and play Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the PS4 remasters, which I also picked up. But I just wanted to dive into Baldur's Gate 3 because it's the new shiny one, and it's hopefully the one that's going to get me hooked into the franchise. But yeah, so I can't really speak how much Dragon Age Origins was like Baldur's Gate, the originals, but Baldur's Gate 3, it was already with how you can go up to everything and click it, and you get some text, and the text appears right over your head. Just the way the camera works and everything, and just how the inventory set up. It really was giving me Dragon Age Origins vibes already. And the way I could have selected, like, to play as Karlach or the other members of my party, you can pick them and just see their origin story. That really felt like Dragon Age Origins 2. Again, I decided to play my own character here, and I'll save playing as like Karlach or something for a second playthrough. So I found this guy with his brain on display here. This was pretty horrific and gnarly, and it's letting me know right away that it's going to be pretty dark fantasy with some like weird horror type stuff in it, which is really cool. So again, I investigated this guy instead of just rushing straight in and just yanking his brain out. And I think that I feel this. No, I passed this one. And I because I have an intelligence +1, it helped me pass it even easier than it would have been already. So I noticed that there was going to be damage to the brain if I just yanked it out of there. So I used this medicine option to like be gentle or whatever. I'm not quite sure why I had two dice here, but it was giving me an advantage. So yeah, I rolled a 19, which passed that easily. So I was able to remove this brain. Um, I was a bit apprehensive about doing this because again, a lot of people they've been on my timeline talking about the game, and they're always talking about how they did something and then something really unexpected happened when you interact with things that you really don't need to interact with. So I was worried this thing was just going to attack me, but I also had a sneaking feeling that this is all set up to seem sort of threatening and dangerous, but it could mean that actually this thing is actually not that dangerous. I was a bit worried here when it turned into the Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, and started transforming and sprouting legs and stuff. I thought I was going to get a game over, and this thing was just going to jump on my face. But then it started calling me its friend, and saying we had to get to the, I believe the bridge or the helm. Yeah, the helm of the ship. And I decided to trust this thing. I don't know if it's going to come back later and bite me in the ass for helping this thing, but so far it seemed like it was actually an okay decision. And eventually, after I recruited my first party member, this little brain guy who was following along behind me, I decided to get on with the game. Ran out here, and of course, this is where we meet. Where is she? There we go. Look out! So cool, man. Yeah, this is Lizelle, I believe. I might be pronouncing all these names wrong, because I've only seen them written down until now, and it's the first time hearing them out loud. So I might be pronouncing everything wrong, but yeah. So this is our first real party member. Uh, she was on the ship with us. She was in the initial cutscene. I thought initially that she hadn't been infected with the like parasite thing that we were given, but it turns out that she is, and she can also hear this thing in her head. Um, and she decides she's gonna team up with us because it'll be useful if there's two people fighting, and she seems like a pretty practical kind of character, like a realist who she might not like helping us or fighting with us, but two heads, or well, in this case, two swords, are better than one. So I decided to be nice to her, even though she's a bit standoffish and she's a bit like antagonistic. But really, I don't blame her because I'm a big demon, horned demon lady on this crashing alien ship. Who knows what I'm doing here? And also, I've got this like alien creature following along behind me. But curiously, Lizelle didn't seem that bothered. She was like, "Yeah, this thing might help us out actually, so let's just get into it." Finally, it was time for some combat. Uh, this is a turn-based game. So it does differ a little from Dragon Age Origins in this regard, where you could pause the game and stuff in Dragon Age Origins, but you could also just run up to enemies and just like hit them with like standard attacks and stuff. It was kind of a mashup of different styles, but this is more traditional turn-based kind of stuff. You can only move so far. I think when we level up, we'll be able to move further to get closer to enemies. Uh, so I was getting the grips with it here because it's again, I don't play a lot of turn-based stuff. I do quite like action RPGs. I'm not averse to turn-based, but it just takes me a little while to get used to the systems of turn-based games. And I do play pretty simple turn-based games like the Yakuza franchise, or Like a Dragon as it's called now. It's gone turn-based, and I did like the system in that. I play a lot of Persona as well. But the turn-based in that is pretty simple. There's a lot less to keep track of. Um, in this game, you have to loot all the fallen enemies and stuff. You've got like an entire ability wheel. You've got your inventory. I was just trying to give everyone the best sword and whatever that I was picking up. Because I still wasn't quite sure what sort of weapons I wanted to use. If I wanted to use this crossbow, or if I wanted to hit stuff with a sword. I didn't really use any of my bard abilities during these first few encounters. Because to be quite honest, I wasn't quite sure how to. Uh, so I don't know if I could have just been whipping out the lyre, because the instrument I chose as my bard's instrument was a lyre. You could choose between a drum, a violin, a flute, a lyre, and I think a lute was the last one. The lute, of course, is the classic bard instrument, but I was drawn to the lyre because I just liked how it sounded more. It's really pretty cool. Actually, I'm sad I shouldn't have cut it out of the character creation, but I was just trying to save a bit of time. But whenever you clicked on each instrument, it played a little tune in the background based on the instrument you just clicked on, and it was just a cool little detail that they put into the character creation, and I just really appreciated that. So anyway, we dispatched these imps pretty easily, and I went around looting all the bodies, and just again getting used to how everything controls and just how to do combat, and just try to stumble my way through here and not die embarrassingly to the very first enemies in the game. Uh, but yeah, I still hadn't figured out how to like do any of my bard abilities. I do know I have one ability that is to insult enemies and like insult them so badly that they might die from it, which again sounded pretty funny to me. But sadly, I didn't figure out how to like unleash that ability at the moment. And again, I was just going around robbing all these deceased mind flayers. I'm really a magpie brain when it comes to RPGs. Anything laying around, even if it looks like trash, I just have to pick it up because I can sell that. I accidentally ran into some fire there, set myself on fire like an idiot. But of course, it is a good teaching moment because it lets me know, yeah, don't run into fire. You're going to set yourself on fire. But also, there might be a way to use the fire in the environment to my advantage. Maybe I can push an enemy into the fire. Um, I saw there was an ability to shove people when I was in the character creator. So I'm already starting to formulate little plans like that. If I can start fires in this game and then maybe push some tougher enemies into it, that might be useful. So I picked up a rapier here and a scimitar and some other swords that I decided to mess around with. Again, completely forgetting already that I'm supposed to be role playing as a bard and whipping out my lute or lyre even and playing some music to these enemies. So yeah, I already had a lot of stuff to read here. This is very in depth, a lot of different stuff to go over. So I didn't spend too much time in the inventory at the moment because I was just trying to get through the intro. Ran into some more fire like an idiot. Lazelle's probably back there going, okay, this character is clearly a moron. I'm going to ditch them as soon as I can. When we get off this ship, we're going to get rid of this idiot because they keep setting themselves on fire. Uh, oh yeah, there was this here little box down here, but I couldn't seem to reach it. There's probably some really easy way to get down there and get it, but yeah, I didn't really figure it out this time. Maybe I can send that brain, the little brain dog or whatever you would call it. I could send him over there. Maybe he could open that box, but yeah, I kind of just left it alone. Uh, so obviously, I noticed someone was shouting for help in a pod over there. So I decided to walk up, and yeah, of course, it is actually Shadowheart is trapped in here. Again, this is a blind playthrough, but I have heard of all these characters because they've been over my timeline on Twitter and stuff for like months now, and I do like all the fan art, even though I hadn't played the game yet. So I definitely thought it would be a good idea to get Shadowheart out of this cage or pod or whatever you want to call it. Lizelle is kind of like, who cares? Let's just leave this, leave this person in here. We don't have time for this. So I could sort of tell these two are going to be getting off on the wrong foot, and they're probably going to be frenemies throughout the game. Uh, or maybe they'll get closer later if I like kind of force them to behave or whatever. But we'll see how it goes. Uh, so I started messing around with this console because Shadowheart said that this was gonna help her get out of that thing. But we didn't have the key to use it just yet. So I was just kicking it and nothing happened really. So I was aware that I would need to go find something most likely and put it in here. Uh, it took me a little while to figure out what I was like, where I was supposed to find that. So I talked to this guy, but he had nothing to say because he's like brainwashed or whatever, or had his brain removed, like the other guy we met probably. So I was wondering what these cultists were doing on here, and if that's going to be revealed later. If the mind flayers, if these were a mind flayer cult or something like that. I found this box over here and it was locked, and I immediately assumed that probably what I need to free Shadowheart was in this box. So I stole everything else around here. There was a brain in a jar. I don't know if that's going to be useful, or it's going to come back to haunt me that I robbed all these like brains and jars. But we'll see how that goes. So again, I knew this console was what I had to like, that I had to do something with. I thought maybe the brain in the jar could be inserted into it, so that's why I came back over there. And then I remember this console was over here. I thought it was gonna do something bad because it was like connected to these brainwashed guys, but I went ahead and touched it anyway because I thought, well, I might as well wake them up and get some XP or whatever and some loot for fighting these guys. So I was trying to find the right lever to like wake them up or whatever, and of course that did turn out to be the case. There was a lever that woke these guys up. So I sent the brain in. He took out this first guy. My main plan was really to send the brain ahead of Lizelle and my character, because I didn't really mind so much if the brain gets taken out, because it's going to be pretty hard to bond to this brain. It would be funny if they became like a full party member later on, like this random brain that's just with you the entire game, and they actually turn out to be one of the strongest characters or something. But yeah, in the beginning here, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna send in the brain. It's okay if they get damaged. And again, I was still getting used to sort of positioning the characters, where best to put them, and I think I unequipped the crossbow I had, which I was kind of regretting because I think it would have been easier to take this guy out from further back. So again, I was trying to use the brain to turn this guy around because I thought hitting him in the back would do more damage. I'm not sure if that is actually the case, but it's what I was trying to do anyway. I was just experimenting, trying out some different stuff. This guy was kind of tough compared to his friend. I mean, not that hard, but he just took a little minute to put down. Again, they both had some loot, so I just robbed them. Don't know if anything they had is going to be all that useful. And again, I just went for that fight because I knew there was this like healing station or whatever you want to call it right next to us. So I even if I got beat up a little, I could just heal myself. Started messing around with this console again, just in case any of them had anything to do with the pod that Shadowheart was in. Uh, but yeah, really, this was just for the cultist people, and wasn't really anything to do with Shadowheart. But eventually, I realized there was a door over here. Um, yeah, I was looking at this box again because I was convincing myself that the key to helping Shadowheart was going to be in there. So I just ran around here again for a while. And I think I came back, I was going to tell her or ask her questions about maybe she has more information about this key or something, but I didn't really see any more info. Uh, so I was just telling her, yeah, I'll keep looking to get you out of there. And I'm actually interested if things play out differently. If you don't manage to free her, does Shadowheart die right away in this ship crash, or or does she come back for revenge later after you leave her trapped in there or something? That would be interesting to find out. I decided to talk to the brain for a minute here because I was thinking maybe he's got some information about how to get Shadowheart out of this like tube or whatever. Again, I wasn't really using a guide for this. Hadn't really watched anybody else's playthroughs, um, and I didn't want to really look up stuff unless I got really stuck. So I was just really trying to have a chill time while playing this. Just go at my own pace, and it might take me quite a while to beat this game because I'm just trying to soak it all in and do everything at quite a slow pace and not try to rush the game at all. I don't know how many episodes of this I'm gonna do, uh, because I think it would probably be like 100 part series. But we'll see how many I do. I'll probably be uploading it from now until midway through January, when the next Like a Dragon game comes out, and then I'll probably upload some videos from that. But if people like this and they actually like watching my stupid idiot playthrough of this, where I probably do everything wrong and end up getting killed in stupid ways and getting my party killed in stupid ways, I might keep uploading it for quite a long time, but we'll see how it goes. I'm just experimenting with different videos on my channel. I don't really have a plan for my channel. I just sort of upload whenever I feel like it for whatever game I feel like uploading from. Sometimes the videos do pretty alright, and sometimes they don't. But that's okay. I'm just trying to have fun and maybe grow the channel a little bit. But again, it's okay if it kind of just keeps going along as it is. So eventually I made it into this other side room and I looted the people in here. And I picked up a key which I was pretty sure was going to free Shadowheart. So I just ran back to her because I had spent quite a long time in this area just running around. Most people probably took like, I don't know, 30 seconds to get Shadowheart out of her prison. But it took me a little bit longer because I really was going at a slow pace and just looting everything possible, even though I probably didn't need it. I think I actually failed this skill check to like investigate this panel or whatever. So I was a bit concerned. I hadn't saved for a little while, so I couldn't really save Scummit. But it seemed like I was going to be able to like go ahead and still get Shadowheart out of this thing. So the skill check failed, but I was still able to accomplish my task here. And I think it taught me like a pretty good lesson early on here, which is like don't panic if you fail a skill check, because you might not have messed up that much, and there might be another skill check after it for another one of your abilities or whatever. And it might be a lot easier, and you might pass it like really simply. Like I got an 18 here when I only needed a 2. And that was the important skill check. And I do believe that when you fail a dice roll, the game is more likely to let you pass your next one, because it's like sort of like adaptive difficulty or whatever you want to call it, where the developers, they really don't want to punish you like giving you like 5 failed dice rolls in a row, because that might get a bit annoying. Uh, So if you do fail a dice roll, I think the next one's more likely to pass. But if you pass a dice roll, you might be in line for another failure the next time. Uh, so I'm not quite sure how it's set up and randomized. But yeah, I managed to get Shadowheart out of here anyway. Uh, so she and Lizelle, again, bit standoffish. We figured out that she doesn't really like whatever race Lizelle is. I think she's kind of like some sort of outsider race, maybe. Um, so you did have the option to question Shadowheart there. Not a fan of that race or whatever. But I did want to get into like a big argument when we're trying to get off this ship, so I decided to play nice and just try to be sort of like uh, pragmatic or whatever, or practical even, and just try to keep this little random party together until we could get off this ship, and then we can argue about stuff when we're on the ground. So she went back, grabbed something there that seemed important, maybe. Uh, so yeah, Lizelle was getting a bit impatient here. She was just like, "Shut up, let's get off this ship." And so now my weird little party of Shadowheart, Lizelle, and this brain were ready to go. I decided to save here just in case anything went wrong after this, because I had a feeling we were going to get into like maybe a trickier fight on the way out of here. I actually spent some time looting again, but I'll skip along until the final part of this mission where we get to the final room at the helm. This mind flayer guy was under attack by these devils and imps and stuff. Um, the devils, I think they're all Teflings. I could be wrong about that. Or Tieflings. Again, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce a lot of this stuff. But I think they're the same race as my character is, so maybe that's why I'm on this ship. We were part of some attack. I don't know if it changes depending on what character you choose, like who's attacking this. Maybe it's always those winged devil guys, or if you're a wood elf or something, or an orc, or a halfling or something, maybe that race is attacking. But yeah, it's probably always the devil guys. I'm not quite sure, but it just feels like it probably is. Um, but yeah, anyway, this mind flare, he's like, yeah, can you get to the console over there, Thrall, and stop this ship or get off this ship or whatever? Um, so this was a pretty interesting little situation because we're already sort of set up to think the mind flare is completely they're completely evil because they've quite clearly kidnapped us and Lizelle and Shadowheart and be putting these like parasites into our brain, and it seems evil on the surface of it. But I don't know, maybe this guy is actually trying to help us somehow. And he is fighting off this devil and allowing us to get to the like control panel. So it is an interesting little opening here. A lot of intrigue, a lot of questions I have already. And I'm already beginning to suspect that the mind flare maybe has some kind of twisted logic where they think that they're like actually helping us by upgrading us with these parasites or something. But I am pretty much gonna try to get rid of the parasites as quickly as possible. And I think it is the main point of the game is to decide if you want to get rid of these parasites or not. And while I do think it might turn out that the mind flayers are less like evil than they might first appear, I think my character already has decided that they just want to get rid of these parasites. I was attacking this devil guy for a while just to see what would happen, but it seemed like his health was like far too high for me to deal with, so I just started moving my characters past him. Again, I don't know if there's like a faster way to move all these characters, just set them up to auto move or something. But for now, I'm just doing it this way, just moving them all individually. I don't know if I'm doing stuff right or wrong. It's my first time playing. And again, I didn't really watch many gameplay videos or anything before buying this game. My main interest in it, again, came from all the fan art and all the praise I was seeing on Twitter. And a lot of people saying, how much it felt like Dragon Age Origins and like a spiritual, I can't even speak, like a spiritual successor to that game. And so that's what really made me jump in. So again, apologies if this is the worst gameplay you've seen and you're like, you idiot, why aren't you doing this? Use this and you could have destroyed every enemy in the room in like 5 seconds. So it might be a bit frustrating to watch me be like the slowest, most idiotic player ever. But we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll get better later on. So again, once we got far enough in, these other backup devils started running in. And it let me know that I had like 9 turns to get out of here before they would catch up to us. And what I suspect happens is they probably take out that mind flare, and then there's nobody to protect us while we get to this console. So I probably shouldn't have spent any moves like trying to attack the mind flare or the devil guy, because it let these people catch up pretty well. But I still had like plenty of time to get towards the control panel or whatever. So yeah, I think this is when I actually just made it to the panel. And then we get off the ship. And I'm probably going to end the video just when we crash land to Earth. And that's going to be my day one of Baldur's Gate. My thoughts so far is I'm really enjoying it. I've just like completely sunk into the world already. Really invested in Lae'zel and Shadowheart, even though I've only seen them for like 10 minutes. I already like that they're kind of standoffish with each other, and that they have a little back and forth going on. And it would be nice to see them become sort of friendlier as things go on. Though I get a feeling that Lae'zel is always going to be pretty standoffish, just from how people portray her in fan art and stuff. But I don't mind that. Some people were turned off by that immediately. I've been seeing this stuff about like how certain players, as soon as they got a party member that they didn't like, they just like killed them right away and stuff. And it sounds pretty ridiculous that you can kill your party members right away and stuff. I didn't even try to do anything like that because I just want to have like the fullest party possible. Maybe if I'm doing an evil playthrough, I would do something like that. Just like leave Shadowheart trapped in that tube or whatever, and just see how it goes. I'm willing to bet some people didn't even notice Shadowheart the first time they entered that room. They were maybe like just focused on getting off the ship and didn't really interact with much stuff in there. Again, small moment here where we're like looking at this mind flare, and you would suspect that he would like attack us or something maybe, but he's just kind of sitting there staring at us. And again, it has some interesting connotations that maybe these guys aren't as wicked or as evil as you would think. But again, can't really trust a guy who puts a parasite in your brain all that much. So I'm probably going to get rid of it as quickly as possible. Yeah, we wake up on the beach, and this is where I'm going to start my next video. We'll see how things go. Really looking forward to finding Karlach and getting Karlach in the party. And I really want to see where Lae'zel and Shadowheart wind up, because they're probably not that far from here, I would guess. Like the ship did crash here. So the next video, it's probably just going to be finding Shadowheart and Lae'zel, and possibly trying to get to Karlach as quickly as possible, just because I really loved all the fan art and everything I've seen of Karlach, and she seems like really cool, and I'm looking forward to like finally meeting her and getting some dialogue for Karlach and stuff. It's going to be great. So yeah, thanks for watching, people, and I'll see you again next time with some more Baldur's Gate 3, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.